This is Monkey World, the largest ape and monkey rescue centre on the planet. With every animal comes a story. Some funny, some shocking. Dramas great and small. Today on Monkey Life, it's time for baby woolly monkey Julio to leave his life living with humans.
Tomorrow night, we've decided, is the first night for the rest of his life that he will hopefully stay the night with woolly monkeys.
And there's a shocking exit from the park for a capuchin monkey family. 18 months after their rescue, a court order means they have to leave. Monkey World is involved with a number of endangered species breeding programs. So far, 11 babies have been born as a result of them. Unfortunately, 4 were rejected by their mothers, so they had to be hand-reared by the primate care staff.
Turn around like this.
7 months ago, Alison took on the care of baby woolly monkey Julio. For the past 2 months, he's been introduced slowly during the day to his family in the woolly monkey house. In the evenings, he goes home with Alison or Mike. They have to make sure that while he's still so small, he's getting exactly the right nutrients he needs to grow properly. But tonight will be his last living with humans before he joins his woolly monkey family for good.
You can see he's sort of quite grown up. It's actually going to be his 210th day tomorrow, which makes it his 7-month-old birthday. He's physically big enough. He's feeding himself now very well. And he's getting on so well with the other woolly monkeys that it's time that he stays with them, really. And the first hurdle to that step is not just abandoning him, because that would be psychologically quite tough on him, is we'll get him to stay overnight with him. So tomorrow night, we've decided, is the first night for the rest of his life that he will hopefully stay the night with woolly monkeys. And I think he's going to be thinking, come on, time to go home, where's Mike or Allison? But yeah, that's it, he's going to tuck up with them, and I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, that he and Lena tuck up together. And if they do, he'll have no problem whatsoever.
Julio has grown into a confident little boy. He plays wherever he wants to, and the other woolly monkeys are very happy to let him.
He just pushes right past them. You know, they can be eating and he gets in there to see if there's anything he wants. If he's walking through the tunnel, I mean, even LeVar, the dominant male, will step aside, step back for Julio to come through the tunnel. Yes, we're talking about you. So, you know, like babies in almost all primate groups, he's the cherished individual. He is looked after and given everything and anything he wants because he's a baby, and they seem to have taken him on, assimilated him into the group as if he were their own. I'm just pleased for him that they've sort of taken to him as much as, you know, Mike and I did. So I think he'll do well in there.
Monkey World has a policy that any animal they rescue is free to stay at the park to live out their lives with others of their own kind in a natural environment. But this is all about to change. For the first time in the park's history, a court order means a group of primates have to leave. It's a family of capuchin monkeys who were rescued just 18 months ago. Alison is devastated by the decision. She was heavily involved in their rescue mission.
It all started out when an undercover officer from the RSPCA decided to reply to multiple articles that he saw in newspapers and magazines, proudly advertising the fact that they had a baby capuchin monkey that was captive born in UK that they were prepared to rip away at the tender young age of 3 months. They asked Jim's and my opinion on this. We gave them that, and the RSPCA decided to proceed with an undercover operation to actually offer to buy the baby monkey and to set up a sting situation where the baby was actually brought to them and sold to them.
Anyone in Britain can keep and sell a primate with the appropriate license. The current law for keeping exotic pets is now almost 100 years old. And while Jim and Alison continue to try and get the law changed, it's the primates who suffer.
we've been asked to meet with them on the motorway near Chippenham to meet an animal dealer, a guy who's been breeding capuchin monkeys for sale and selling them for as much as 3,500 pounds. That's like $7,000. He's taking away a baby capuchin from its mom, which is how he sells them. And the RSPCA agrees with us that that is cruel, and the one thing you can do in this country is if somebody commits an act of unnecessary cruelty to an animal, that's illegal.
Well, we've just pulled into the service station where the meeting's meant to happen, and now we're just sort of waiting. It's really sort of the tense time because you don't know what's going to happen. Is the guy going to actually show up? So is he going to come? Will he have the monkey? Will we actually be able to get the baby off of him before he freaks out and runs off? I don't know. So we're all actually staked out here in the car park waiting for this guy to show up and not knowing really what to expect. Bit tense.
10 minutes later, the dealer arrived. He admitted to having the baby capuchin monkey in his car, and the police confiscated it.
The police have actually just arrested the gentleman who's here, and we're just waiting for them to drive away now so that we don't cause a scene out in the middle of the car park here.
It's now officially in your custody, okay? Okay.
The RSPCA needed Alison and vet John Lewis to identify the baby and give a visual health check before they could leave.
Yep, sweet. Tiny little baby. Yeah, let John have a look.
There's no physical wounds on her, but there again, you wouldn't necessarily expect that. She's clearly scared. She's got that expression on her face which says, what the hell is going on?
But she's quite young, isn't she?
She's very young, yeah, without doubt. And if you look at her now, she's clinging on to anything at all. It ought to be a mother, but she's just hanging on to terry cloth or whatever it is in there.
There's actually a cuddly toy in the box for her to cling to and stuff, but right now, like John says, she's so freaked out just by everything that it's going to take her a little while to calm down.
But this was only half of the story. While the dealer was met by the police, Monkey World's animal manager Jeremy and an RSPCA team in Wales were on the way to the dealer's parents' house. They wanted to see if they could find the baby's mother, as they didn't think mum and baby should be apart.
Now the next bit, fingers crossed, is over in Wales. How's Jeremy doing? So, got the baby, now we just need to get mum.
Clearly, we've got to get this baby back with its mum. So, first thing is to identify the mum. And if that's, not knowing what we're going into, that could be anything. I mean, if there's only one female, then it's obviously her. If there's a dozen females, then it might not be obvious if one's lactating, if one's got milk. So we're going to have to make some decisions when we get there. Equally, if it's a family group, a small family group, we don't want to split the family group up. So because we don't know, we've got to be prepared for everything.
If that leaves just the father, if he's there, then we'll take the father as well, because it would be cruel to leave one on its own. So the baby will be coming back to Monkey World if we're successful. Hopefully mom and maybe even dad. If there's any more, they're going to have to stay.
With the baby safely en route to Monkey World, vet John Lewis also made the journey to Wales to join Jeremy and the team in the search for the baby's family.
Yeah, that must be mum and this is dad. So, not happy about taking a female, not the male. It's not going to be a happy bunny at all. There's no way that they can be living separately.
No.
So we're looking at a family group, and therefore they either stay together or we go together, and I don't think they ought to stay here.
The situation is we've got a family group of animals. In fact, the baby's been taken from the mother, but it's actually in with the mother's in with the father. They're in reasonable physical condition. The facilities they're in are not terribly cramped, but it's filthy, and there's no facility for separating them or dealing with them in any way at all. Given that we think the baby's been taken away far too young from its mother, and so in order not to leave one animal, one adult on his own, all three are going to be confiscated until the outcome of the legal proceedings. So we have to take the male and the female now.
It's been 18 months since the Monkey World team confiscated the capuchin family. Since then, they've been living happily all together in a more natural environment. But recently, the case has been to court to decide whether the monkey's owner had treated them cruelly, and now they have a ruling.
What the RSPCA were hoping is that they could prove that the standards in which and the methods in which this man was using to breed and sell his monkeys were indeed actually cruel. So regardless of the law being legal for somebody to buy and sell the monkey, what he was doing was an act of cruelty, and that was their case. So it was wholly unnecessary, basically, for this man to breed a monkey and then to forcibly, when the mother's looking after it perfectly and feeding a 3-month-old infant, to forcibly tear them apart just so he can make a sale. The legal system, of course, takes quite a long time, you know, and I think it was about 9 months or even more before the court case was actually brought to trial. So, you know, we had Bonnie and Clyde, and by that point we had named the baby Andy at the park for quite a long time, and everybody grew very fond of them, and they adapted magnificently to their new environment, flying around their enclosure, playing wildly together, perfect family unit.
But the court eventually ruled that even though suffering had taken place, the dealer had not caused unnecessary suffering by taking the baby away from its mother to sell it. And now, all the capuchins have to be returned to their owner.
You know, it breaks my heart for them is the fact that, you know, our keepers spent more than a year looking after those monkeys, making sure that they were happy and healthy, and they were. And, you know, I had to tell them that they had to give them up. And, you know, we're very proud of the fact that monkeys and apes that come here have a good retirement home, and that it's usually forever. Sadly for Bonnie and Clyde, we were ordered by the courts to return them. You know, we're still here and we're still going to fight and campaign to stop the trade. And I don't expect that Bonnie and Clyde will be the last capuchins that we're asked to come and assist with.
Yeah, personally, I'm just hoping that with something of this nature, that the people who actually enforce the legislation, the law, can, you know, look at it, be more open-minded, be more considerate to the actual emotional welfare of a family group. That family group of capuchin monkeys are having a nice time together. They love each other, they're sound, they're solid. If only that, then this hasn't all been in vain, because it's all a horrible thing to have to go through. It's dreadful for the monkeys. I mean, we're supposed to be the intelligent animal, for goodness sake. I mean, really, it's a bit of a farce, isn't it? It really is. It's just so sad to me. You know, people wonder why I isolate myself here. When you look out there, oh, goodness me, I don't want any part of it, thank you very much. You know, my conscience is clear.
In the main orangutan enclosure, Tuan and his group are busy with 2 puzzle feeders. Orangutans are highly intelligent animals and enjoy problem solving to get their food. First on the scene is 11-year-old female Lucky, and she's keen to check out the new objects. But big male Tuan is still far more interested in his lunch. Roro has spotted the second feeder, but frustration seems to be getting the better of her. Lucky has quickly worked it all out. On the menu today is apple, lemon curd, and peanut butter. Hanging the pole from the frame makes the orangs work for their treats. Their long arms and short legs make them perfectly designed for tackling the feeding poles. And at last, Roro's cracked the puzzle. But 22-year-old Tuan can only sit and watch. The girls are dominating the feeder, and he's just too heavy. Female orangutans weigh half as much as the males, which makes them extremely agile when swinging from the flimsy branches in the wild. But with the treats going fast, Tuan is determined not to be left out. He tries an alternative strategy: muscle power and a firm jaw. But it's no good. On the other pole, Lucky uses more successful tactics to get at the prize. With nothing more than a mouthful of splinters, Tuan heads off to join Lucky on her pole. And it looks like things are finally clicked with the big man. And he gets his turn, tasting the treats. Over in Hananya's group, concern is growing for one of the female chimps, 10-year-old Jolene. She's been unwell for a couple of weeks, and with a strange collection of symptoms that come and go. And unfortunately, she's just not improving.
She's acted very depressed. Some mornings she is quite slow. Some mornings there's a bit of stiffness about her. And there's this complication or this range of symptoms where little stiffness, but it seems to come and go. We have flare-ups with the skin where we get all of a sudden swelling, you know, and she's lost hair on her head. We're getting swelling around the eyes, some swelling around the forehead. Now, you know, sometimes around now her ears. It seems like it's progressing. She's been given a range of treatments already. But right now, she's in the middle of a real bout of whatever this is. It's not nice for her, but she is having a problem right now. John and Mike are here right now, and now's the time to find out. John, you see the difference in her now, don't you, than when you were last here? It's pretty dramatic.
When I last saw her, Jim, she had no swelling, and it was just, it really was a case of telling me, well, you should have seen her last week. And now she's got obvious swelling. I've got something to work with. I've got something to biopsy. We've got an animal that's actually in the throes of some kind of clinical problem, and that's when blood pictures are more likely to show what it is. So, yeah, there's more to work with.
Chimps, like many animals, are good at hiding if they're in pain. It's a defense mechanism. The team are worried that Jolene is extremely ill, but she's just not showing it.
I don't think she's going to do it.
Jolene is darted with anaesthetic, and once she is asleep, a full investigation can take place. John needs blood samples so he can test for infections and organ function. He'll also do a white blood count to test for immune problems. X-rays may also shed light on the stiffness in Jolene's joints. John will also take skin biopsies from the affected areas. Some chimps do get grooming patches. Grooming is a popular and important activity in chimp society, and some lower-ranking members get over-groomed, which can lead to distinct patches of hair loss. But Jolene is a well-established female, so it's unlikely these patches are from over-grooming.
But this, you see, this here,
it's those ones.
do they just spontaneously occur?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's one here as well.
See there, that must be a fresh one, surely, this one here. Had you seen this before? Don't suppose you have.
No.
And there's one right on the top of the head here. Little area of ulceration.
The skin samples are cut away so they can be sent for analysis, but the size of some of the cuts require stitches. The team can be confident Jolene's had a comprehensive battery of tests. Now they'll keep their fingers crossed that the diagnosis is not life-threatening. Since it began, Monkey World has worked with 15 governments worldwide, and now they're about to break new territory. There's a chimpanzee that needs rescuing from Mexico. Bryan is 3 years old. He was stolen from the wild in West Africa and was being trained to be a beach photographer's prop. With the help of Jim, Alison, and animal conservationist Gloria Fraser, the authorities confiscated him. He's now safely living at an ecological park until he can come to Monkey World. It's been a year since the mission to rescue Bryan began, and it hasn't been easy. Firstly, nature intervened when Hurricane Wilma hit Cancun. It took several weeks before anyone could confirm that Bryan survived the storm. But since then, official paperwork and transatlantic bureaucracy has been a much bigger obstacle.
Gloria, it's Jim. You have all the paperwork for Bryan. You need a letter from us?
Yes. I don't understand why, but the law in Mexico is very difficult sometimes to understand.
We'll send you an email today.
But every time you go there, they want something different.
Will that be the final letter?
That, who knows?
We found ourselves in a position where the British government, trying to do their job, asked so many questions of another government. You know, it became the long, lengthy list that what would happen is, where you thought you were going to get them quickly, you see it drifting away. Because there's 10 questions, 20 questions, 30 questions that aren't going to help. And eventually, we got so frustrated by all this and so worried about Bryan that we met with the officials in the British government. We met with our MP, Jim Knight, who organized the meeting. And we've come to an agreement. We've all accepted that when it's welfare, when it's suffering, do it right, but do it quick.
And with arrangements in place, Jeremy can finally begin work on a special travel box to transport Bryan back to Monkey World. Next time, the team make the 5,000-mile journey to Mexico to meet Bryan.
Hey, Bryan!
Good boy. Come here. Good boy you are.
And it's not just this chimpanzee that needs their help.